In this quiet night, as you prepare to close your eyes, we'll take you to a place unbound by laws, where justice finds no anchor. A place in the open sea, where ships sway like bad dreams. No walls to protect you, no windows to offer a glimpse of hope. This is not an adventure, nor a fictional tale of hidden treasure, but a real life lived by men under a black flag, on an edge that never sleeps. Tonight we'll dive into just one day on a pirate ship. A day where you start as a human and end as something unrecognizable. Think for a moment. Could you endure a single day living among pirates? Don't expect cheerful songs, stylish hats, or a dancing monkey on your shoulder. Lie back, dim the lights, and let the sound of the sea creep into your mind. Now, let's begin the journey. You wake up, but not on a soft bed or in a room you recognize. You're on a wet wooden plank with ropes dangling above you and a stench you can't quite place, a mix of salt, sweat, and cheap rum. You open your eyes to darkness, not because it's night, but because you are in a dim corner of a creaking wooden ship that feels like it is dying. No windows, no ventilation, no privacy. You are not living in a room, but in a hollow space between a barrel of gunpowder and a rusty chain. You try to stand, but your back groans from the rough wood, and your knee pops as if warning you against moving. The first thing you hear is shouting, sharp, angry voices. No one wakes up calmly here. It aches as if everyone on the ship woke up to remind you you're an outsider, that this place isn't yours. You reach to your side. Nothing but a torn boot if you're lucky. Otherwise, you were walking barefoot on a deck splintered with shards and dark stains of dried blood no one asks about or denies. Breakfast is a piece of hardtack, a biscuit so tough it fights your teeth like it refuses to be eaten. You find tiny worms wriggling inside, moving with the confidence of creatures that were here before you. You swallow it with a swig of rum, not for pleasure, but to numb your stomach before the day's torment begins. You lift your head, and the sun stings your skin without mercy. The air is so humid it's like breathing through a wet rag. No one smiles. No one welcomes you. The captain's voice booms over the waves, barking orders. There's no time for rest or thought. Ropes need pulling, cannons need cleaning, and commands must be obeyed without question. In the first hour of this day, you realize you're not a guest, but a slave under scrutiny. Everything around you, the sea, the ship, the men, tests your ability to survive or collapse. In the world of pirates, nothing shows mercy. There's no time for a cook, no resources for luxury. What's served on the ship isn't a meal, but a daily challenge to survive. You crouch on a stained deck, waiting your turn by a pot of simmering slop they call stew, though no one knows what's in it. Scraps of meat that resemble neither animal nor fish, maybe a floating carrot if you're lucky. The cook, a one-eyed man with soot-stained hands, has no culinary skills beyond keeping things boiling. He's not a chef, but a former prisoner, spared from fighting because he lost half a foot. The bread isn't fresh, just a box of hard loaves reeking of mold. You bite into it and feel something move, tiny worms living confidently inside. But no one complains. The rule is simple. If you don't eat, you won't stand when the captain calls. The water is as salty as the sea, and if there's anything to drink, it's rum, doled out in small portions, not to quench thirst, but to numb hearts and silence regrets. Meals aren't a gathering. No one laughs while eating or swaps stories. Eating here feels like punishment, a meal you wrestle with your teeth, fearing it'll come back later as gut-wrenching pain in some dark corner where no one notices. That's how you eat as a pirate. No flavor, no warmth, no salt to please the palate. Just morsels to keep you moving, nothing more. When the light fades, the night doesn't bring rest, but a different kind of chaos. Sleeping on a pirate ship isn't rest. It is a fleeting surrender in a place that knows no peace. There are no beds, no soft mattresses, no pillows smelling of cleanliness. Just a wooden patch you share with rats, fleas, and sometimes a bleeding pirate who's been leaking all day. The air is stifling, the wood damp, and the cockroaches know your spot better than you do. You lie down, trying to ignore the constant creaking, the swaying ropes, and the sharp stench that clings to your nose. You close your eyes and hear violent snoring next to you, then a sound like a gasp. Is it a man dying or someone crying in silence? It doesn't matter. All sounds blend in the darkness, amidst fear and the sea. Even if sleep overtakes you, safety is absent. You might wake to a scream, a bucket of water, a slap from a crazed crewmate, or worse, a kick from the captain himself, because he didn't like how you looked while sleeping. Sleep becomes an adventure, an uncertain gamble. You might wake up, or you might not. On a pirate ship, there are no friends as you know them. Everyone around you is either a temporary ally or a dormant enemy. The salty water doesn't bind hearts, it fills them with suspicion. They talk, laugh, share stories, but no one trusts another. Backs stay unturned, and silence is sometimes worth more than gold. Even laughter can feel like a trap to make you spill secrets that will be used against you later. You learn quickly that your words must be measured, every move watched, every action carrying a price. If payment is delayed, the law, set by the captain or agreed upon in a drunken crew meeting, is enforced selectively. Today, you're punished for stealing. Tomorrow, the one who stole more is praised. Disputes erupt fast. A lingering glance, a wrong touch, a careless word, all can spark a knife fight or a brawl on a slippery deck. Yet amidst the chaos, there's a fragile balance. They all know they only have each other, and the sea, despite its savagery, is less treacherous than a crewmate who turns on you in the dark. That's the crew's law. No love, no loyalty, just brittle alliances to keep you alive another day. On a ship that defies law, justice becomes something else, something shaped by mood, anger, or reasons left unsaid. There are no courts, no right to defend yourself. All it takes is the captain pointing a finger or someone shouting, "He did it!" From that moment, the spectacle begins. One of the most famous punishments is walking the plank, forcing you to walk a slanted board extending from the ship into the open sea, where merciless depths and sharks might be the last to see you. It's said to be a romantic way to die, but it's rare in reality. Pirates preferred more humiliating methods, tying the guilty to the mast, leaving them under the scorching sun, back bare, salt-burning old wounds, or dunking them headfirst into a barrel of foul water while the crew laughs. One of the cruelest punishments was flogging to silence, where a man is whipped until he stops making a sound, either because he's unconscious or dead. If you steal from the crew, they might cut off your ear or brand your face with hot iron, leaving a silent mark of betrayal. Strangely, these punishments weren't always for crimes. Sometimes they were just to prove power or relieve boredom. Punishment isn't about reform, it's a tool for dominance. So, when someone errs, they don't ask what the punishment is, but how much they can endure before breaking. When you think of pirates, you imagine gold, treasures, chests overflowing with shiny coins. But the reality is far less glamorous. Booty exists, yes, but it's rare, unpredictable, and often comes at an unbearable cost. One ship might carry a fortune, another just ropes and salted fish. The difference between the two is a bloody battle with no mercy. When attacking a merchant ship, the crew turns into beasts, killing those who resist and dragging the rest barefoot across a blood-stained deck. Then comes the inventory. Chests opened, barrels broken, searching for anything that can be sold, drunk, or worn. But the surprise comes later when the loot is divided by the law of spoils. Your share is meager. The captain takes the lion's share, then the officers, leaving you with a few coins for a bottle of rum or a new knife. Glory? There's none. Once the battle ends, everything returns to normal. No one remembers who fought bravely or bled silently. To the sea, you're just a tool. The image from stories, a pirate filling their pockets with gold and living on a tropical island, is rare, if not a myth. The true treasure isn't gold, but the chance to live another day, to dodge a bullet, a betrayal, or a sudden illness ravaging your body. In the pirate world, treasure isn't measured by what you own, but by what you survive. In the sea, no sound rises above the waves, except the sound of betrayal. Among pirates, betrayal isn't an exception. It's a constant possibility. From the moment you board the ship, the game of survival begins, with everyone watching everyone else. Your mate might smile, share food, then report you secretly at night or steal a coin from your chest and swear they never touched it. How do you detect betrayal? No informants, no devices, just noses that smell fear and eyes trained to read trembling faces. It starts with a glance too long, a whisper in a corner, a hand hiding something. Then comes the test. The suspect is left in a delicate situation, watched, baited. If they stumble in their lie, the game is up. Betrayal in this world does not forgive. Even the suspicion of it can turn the ship into a battlefield. Woe to the one caught red-handed, dragged by their feet, tied to the mast, or thrown alive into the sea. Worse still is when betrayal comes from the captain himself. Then the scales tip, mutinies flare, knives replace sails, and everything hinges on one law: who betrays or kills first. For centuries, the image of an old map with a red X has haunted imaginations. A wooden chest buried under a palm tree, brimming with gold and jewels, guided by a tattered parchment. But did pirates really bury their treasure? The reality says rarely, if ever. Pirates weren't men of long-term planning. They lived day by day, spending their spoils on drink, women, and pleasures, leaving port before the governor or soldiers remembered them. Why would a man bury his wealth if he wasn't sure he'd live to see tomorrow? And why hide it when he'd have to share it with his crew to avoid a mutiny? The buried treasure we know was born from stories, especially after the 19th century novel Treasure Island ignited imaginations and cemented the idea in collective memory. Some treasures were found in sunken ships, but they weren't hidden deliberately. The sea swallowed them in battles or storms. A pirate digging a hole on an island, burying a chest, and drawing a map. That's closer to children's tales than the life of rebels. Yet the myth persists, perhaps because it offers hope that something awaits, or because it represents what humans always seek: adventure and riches, even if they're an illusion. But if buried treasures are a myth, there were real faces that walked those wooden planks and raised the black flag in broad daylight, turning the seas into a stage for chaos, glory, and blood. Faces that didn't hide treasures under sand, but hid their names in the heart of the waves. We draw closer to them, to the echoes they left behind in the Caribbean waters, those warm waters where islands scatter like pearls, where the winds whisper secrets that never sleep. There, the wildest stories in pirate history were born. The Caribbean, a sea that refused to be ruled from a throne, was left to chaos, governed by those with courage or the skill to ignite fear. Among those faces was one unforgettable, a man who emerged from the fog like a nightmare, Edward Teach, known to all as Blackbeard. His long beard covered his face, woven with lit fuses that sparked terror before the fight began. He hid pistols under his coat and roared over the waves as if thunder itself fought beside him. His power wasn't tea in the ships he sank, but in the legend that preceded him, a man who never compromised or retreated. In 1721, Blackbeard sailed his ship, Queen Anne's Revenge, blocking trade routes along the Caribbean coast. He knew when to attack, when to negotiate, and when to vanish into the fog. But his end came as he expected, bloody. In a fierce battle off the Carolina coast, he took over 20 stabs and 5 bullets. Yet he didn't fall until his body was a torn wreck. He wasn't alone. There was Bartholomew Roberts, who captured over 400 ships, wearing a black feathered hat and enforcing iron rules on his crew. And there were Anne Bonny and Mary Red, 2 women who wielded swords against the world, living beyond every law and raising the flag of death in a sky that knew no regret. Yet the Caribbean wasn't just a slaughterhouse. It was a dream. A place where legends were born and hearts danced between smoke and gold, then faded. As the winds calm and the sails fray, we follow the pirates in their final steps, when rebels grow old and the waves write the story's end. At first, the sea seems eternal, life on the ship like it exists outside time, just waves, swords, spoils, and fleeting glory. But what happens when the cannons fall silent, when the hand that pulled ropes trembles with rheumatism? Where does a man who chased sails his whole life go when he has no sea or ship left? Many pirates didn't die in battle, but faded into shadows, succumbing to slow diseases and constant hunger, lost in small ports that didn't know their names. Some tried to start anew under false names, farming, fixing boats, or guarding warehouses that bore no resemblance to the sea. But can a rebel suddenly become an ordinary citizen? Can a man who lived by cunning and theft pay taxes and stand in line? Others rotted in dark prisons, their bodies aging in rusty chains, awaiting a slow death without drama or farewell poems. Some met their end through small betrayals, a whisper from an old friend, a quiet handover to authorities that had waited years. By the early 18th century, the world no longer tolerated the chaos pirates represented. Great powers united, hunting them legally, closing ports, and using navies not just to defend, but to exact revenge. The age of organized trade arrived, leaving no room for chaotic nights. The world preferred contracts over guns, ports over trenches, and so pirates faded like salt bubbles on the wave's surface. But their story didn't die. It's told at night, carried by the wind to those dreaming of escape from a mundane life. As we turn off the light and recall what we've heard tonight, we realize the pirate world wasn't just an adventure or a black flag raised on a mast. It was a full life, a life on the margins, outside laws, loud with rebellion, thick with the scent of gunpowder, and filled with dreams that had no place on land. On those ships swaying over waves, fear lived with courage, loyalty with betrayal, hope with madness. There was simple food, tattered clothes, and sleep under constant threat. But they fought, sang, and stole moments from a life that didn't belong to them. In the disputes that flared among friends, in the strange punishments applied without mercy, the truth emerges. Not every sword-bearer was a hero, nor did every ship-catcher gain glory. Many ended nameless, leaving behind a few words in an old log or a skull forgotten by the sand on a deserted shore. Today, in a world of laws and borders, some might be tempted to escape to their world. But remember, life with pirates wasn't a stroll on the waves. It was a constant battle against the world and oneself. When their flame died, it wasn't just because they were defeated, but because the world itself had changed.